Good afternoon, everyone. Many thanks for your attendance to the Koris Microsoft Lync demonstration. My name is Christian Richards, Sales Consultant with Koris, and I'm joined by Nick Osborne, our Principal Technical Consultant. I'd like to begin with a short overview of this afternoon. Essentially, we're going to have a live demonstration of Microsoft Lync 2013, followed by some points of interest and key success criteria which Nick Osborne will elaborate on. And in the second point, we'll actually focus on some of the recent successes that Koris have enjoyed deploying Microsoft Lync across different industry sectors. Koris are a UK-based managed infrastructure provider specializing in managing complete voice and data infrastructure solutions to UK-centric clients. At this point, I'll hand over to Nick Osborne, our Principal Technical Consultant, for the live demonstration of Microsoft Lync 2013. Many thanks.
Hi everyone, this is Nick Osborne here, Technical Consultant at Koris. Thanks for the intro, Christian. The main purpose of today is to provide you with a demo of Lync running through a number of different areas. So we're going to look at the desktop client, the Lync mobile client. We're going to look at the Lync control panel and just show you how easy it is to provision new users and apply policies. We'll have a little discussion on interoperability, and lastly we'll talk about some of the deployment gotchas on Lync. So just a bit of background info on our kind of experience of various deployments. So starting with the Lync desktop client, I'm going to switch over to share my desktop now, so you can see the session. So give me 2 seconds. So you'll see the content changing. All I'm doing there is within the web conference session, which you're going to see pop up on your screen. All I did there was I went to the sharing option and chose to share my desktop instead of the PowerPoint that we were sharing. So it's really easy for users to switch between sort of content they're sharing in a session. So I'll just minimize that and bring up my Lync client. So here's my Lync client. Excuse my messy desktop in the background. So when you're using Lync, the first sort of bits you see at the top are an indicator of your presence and your availability. So your presence status at the top is generated from a number of different places. It can be set automatically, or it can be you can set it manually, sorry, or it will also get set automatically in a couple of different scenarios. So at the moment, because I'm doing a presentation, it's set my status to presenting. It's also set me to do not disturb, so colleagues can't call me on the telephony part of Lync, or they can't interrupt me because obviously I'm doing a presentation at this point. Other statuses that can get set automatically are busy. So if you've got an appointment in your Outlook calendar and you've set that appointment to have your status as busy, then Lync will automatically change to set that status as busy. If you lock your PC, it will set you as away, so your status will change to a yellow icon and colleagues will see that you're away from your desk. Or you can reset your status back to available. So how this looks for other people when they search for me, so I'm just going to search myself in the Lync client here, search by first name, last name. I find my contact card down here. I'm just going to bring up the contact card. So looking at my contact card here, this is the view that somebody else would see of me at this point in time. So they can see I'm presenting, they can see I'm busy, they can see various contact methods to call me, so they can see my work number, mobile number, etc. But the key bit here is that this is generating a lot of information automatically. So when you want to start a communication with someone and you search them within Lync, the contact card and the presence information here brings up a lot more information about their availability and what might be the best way to contact them. In this scenario, if somebody wanted to contact me and they saw I was presenting, I would expect then they may choose to send me an email instead of trying to call me. Whereas previously you wouldn't necessarily have known that. You might have just called them, left a voicemail, and that voicemail would have maybe not got answered, etc., etc. So Going back to the client, we were looking at our presence there. The other bits of information towards the top of the client are the ability to set your location. So in here I can manually set a location, or I can have it set automatically based on some information gathered from my PC. So it can be set based on the subnet your PC's in, the wireless AP you're connected to, and a few other areas like that. So that's something that's configured in the background by the administrator. But if you wanted to have users' location change when they were in a certain office, so it would say HQ or Leeds office, then we can have the location information set automatically based on information such as their subnet. As I said, that's an admin side setting, so users don't have to worry about subnets or anything. It's something you configure at the server level. So moving on within the Lync client here, if I want to communicate with someone, I might want to start off by sending someone an IM. So I'm just going to search there. In this case, I just searched by first name. If I double click on someone, my conversation window pops up, and I can just start having an IM conversation here. So simple as that. He can reply, and we can start having a conversation. We can add to this conversation really easily by turning it into a voice call, or we could add video to the call, and you're going to see a little preview picture of me there. Hi. We can add some collaboration content to this call, or we can also just get a quick roster of who is on the conversation. So just from that double click, I brought up this new conversation window, and you can see from just a few clicks I can start up with a lot of different types of communication depending on what I need to do. So because I'm actually in a call at the moment, I'm not going to try and call Aaron, because you'll then all get put on hold and that won't sound great. So I'm just going to flick to my demo machine, where I've got another client here set up that I can make calls on without interrupting our webinar. So I'm just going to search for Aaron again. We're just going to start up a conversation. So I just typed his first name there, go to IM, his name correctly. So just an example scenario here. Maybe I had a quick question for Aaron on and I asked him on instant messaging, and we carried on talking on instant messaging, but it kind of got to the point, well, it would be better if I showed him what I needed to ask him about. So if I have a Word document open, maybe that's what I want to talk to Aaron about, or maybe an Excel spreadsheet. So bring up my Excel spreadsheet here with let's get rid of. Cool. Excuse that. So some numbers. So we've got a spreadsheet we want to talk about with our very important sales figures in here. And so flicking back to my conversation, so Aaron's happy we're going to start a sharing session. So along the bottom of the window, we looked at this briefly on when we were looking at my PC, but we've got the different ways we can communicate. So at the moment, IM is in blue because that's the method we're using. If we add in different modes, you'll see these icons will change colour as we add in that mode. So I'm going to choose to share a program with Aaron. So click program, and then it brings up a new window that shows the programs that I have available to share. So I'm going to choose the Excel I've got there. So select that, click present. Here it's just warning me that other people will be able to see the program I'm sharing. So it's just a reminder to tell people that you are sharing content from your PC. So click OK. And so because your view on the webinar is slightly smaller than my screen, you may not quite see this, but there's a yellow bar around Excel on my PC at the moment, or on my test PC. That's just to remind me that I am sharing this content. So I'll just change it away from being maximized, but you can see there's a little yellow bar around Excel now, just reminding me that the thing that Aaron can see when we're having this sharing session. So what I'm going to do is going to give him control. So I'm just going to give him control. So there's a couple of ways I can do this. I can either choose to give him control. Let me just get this out of the way. So I can choose to give him control from here. So from the give control menu, or Aaron actually requested control in this scenario. So it just pops up a yellow bar here asking, do I want to give Aaron control? So I'm going to click yes. And now Aaron has control over that spreadsheet. So I'm obviously, you can't tell that I'm hands-free at the moment, but Aaron is now controlling the spreadsheet, and so we could be discussing this document. Maybe I want some feedback on it. It could be any program running on my PC, so it could be Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any app. It doesn't have to be a Microsoft app. And then we can talk through this, look at these numbers, or comment on a document. So I guess the idea of that was just trying to show how easy it was to change to sharing some content from an IM conversation. So back on our conversation window here, you saw which sort of typing text-based messages to each other. We've got the ability to add these little emoticons to the conversation as well, and so they may initially seem like a non-business feature. Smiley faces might not seem that professional, but when you are having a conversation, a text-based conversation, it's often easy to lose some of the context of that conversation, and it's easy to come across as abrupt or not particularly polite. So these emoticons do have a real use in being able to kind of add a bit more humor, a bit more context to a conversation, instead of it being potentially taken the wrong way. So most people will be familiar with this idea of emoticons from mobile phones and that kind of thing. So yeah, so there we were, as I said, we were showing escalating from one method of communication to the other. If I wanted to call Aaron as well, I could just click call, and this will start a voice call as well to him. So now at this point we're talking, or we've got IM open, we've also got a voice call going, and he can be seeing my desktop. So I'm now connected to Aaron on a voice call. In the top right of the window here, you can see the call timer. I can then, if I want to, hang up the call. So just going to drop that call. Yeah. So that was our quick little demo of our different options to start some collaboration with someone. I'm just going to go back to my original Lync client here. Just minimize our demo session. And so another thing I want to show you here is the contact list. So when we started this all off, I just searched for somebody by first name just by typing in the address bar. If I want to call someone, I don't have to type their name. They don't have to be in my contact list. I could call a number. So I call a mobile number, and I could click to call that quite easily from the client. So there I just hovered over it, and I've got the call option. Because this number is also stored in my Outlook contacts, it's recognized that and brought up the name of that person. So the search bar is also my sort of dial box if I need. Also, say I wanted to call by extension, I can type someone's extension, and 2250 happens to be my internal extension. So from there again, I just typed it in the search box, and it's brought up some results. I could just click to call immediately, or say I was actually looking for someone. So let's go for Christian. What's your extension? 22. Sorry, I said 2077. So say I was going to call Christian, so I typed in his extension number there to call him. Actually, now because it matches his extension to his Lync user, I can see that he's in a conference call. So actually, I'm not going to probably be able to call him at this point. So instead, I might send him an IM. So just these little examples are kind of showing you the way that if we use Lync as our primary sort of method of communication, then we get so much more kind of context to be able to talk, to be able to communicate in a more sort of useful manner. So back on our client, we've got our contact list here, and the contact list is created by the user. So the user chooses who they want in their contact list. And typically you'll create your contact list based on maybe team members or people you contact frequently. Because you've always got the search box at the top here to search for someone, you don't have to add somebody into that contact list, because it's almost just as quick to type a few numbers, if I can spell correctly, type a few letters, sorry, to search for someone as it would be to drill down into your contact list. But it does help with maybe if there's a team of people you work with regularly, then you can add them into a group on there, and or maybe you've got some a sales group, and you know that actually I don't need to contact a specific person in sales, I just need someone in sales. So I go into my sales group and just choose any one of those people that's available within that sales group. So I might choose Sam here because he's green and available, so a little bit easier for me to contact him, or choose the person to contact. But yeah, so the contact list there is managed by the user themselves. They don't have to add people into contacts, but as I said, it's sometimes quite useful to have that little list for the frequently contacted people, etc. So at the moment it's grouping them by the groups they're in. You can also group people by status, relationship, or the new option there. So the new feed will list people who have recently added you to their contact list. This does search your Outlook contacts as well as the corporate directory. So users that use Lync for telephony, searching in here, so the example earlier, my Nico personal, my personal mobile, that's in my Outlook contacts. Searching for it here allows me to contact it from Lync, so I don't have to go into Outlook to find that person to contact them. I just search from within the Lync client. So the next section to look at in here is persistent chat. So persistent chat is a feature that's been within Lync and previously OCS for a while. It's a chat method that allows you to have a conversation that will remain after you leave that conversation. So typically persistent chat would be maybe used for R&D discussions or group discussions that people will need to return to, or maybe people want a record of, not necessarily for a compliance point of view, but more for referring back to what we talked about and what we've agreed upon. So persistent chat rooms do look very much like a normal Lync conversation. So just a test one I created up here, I've opened up the room and it just looks like a normal Lync conversation. Where it becomes useful is you can create feeds based on content typed into a session. So for example, maybe we're obviously interested in Lync, so so I've started a conversation on Lync there. I noticed I typed the keyword Lync. So I've also got a feed that will give me an indicator when there's been a new discussion involving the keyword Lync. So if I flick over to my discussions that feature Lync box here, bring this up, and now this pops up and it's got a feed on new discussions that feature the keyword Lync. So this could be quite useful from, again, as I sort of said, from a sort of persistent discussion point of view, R&D, marketing ideas, that kind of stuff. But it's all driven from within the Lync client. So to join that persistent chat, I just chose the persistent chat icon within the Lync client, and off I went. From here as well, I've also got the ability to create a new chat room, create a topic feed, which was the news feed I showed you there, search, etc., or follow a particular room. So persistent chat is a standard feature in Lync. Depending on your deployment model, it can be just another role co-located on one of the Lync front-end servers, or if it's critical for you, you may want to run it as a separate server. But there's no additional licensing needed to run persistent chat. It's purely configuration. So moving on slightly further within the client, I've got my conversation history here. So here is showing me recent conversations. So just for example, earlier, a little test before the call started up, we were just checking audio is working, so you can see that was a conversation with Elliot there. But that's showing all the conversations within my client. They're stored locally within Outlook for me, and the idea of those is they are the user's list of conversations. So a bit like your sent items in Outlook, this is your conversation history. So viewable in here, but also searchable in Outlook. So if I searched for a keyword in Outlook, it will search both all my mailbox and also my conversation history in Outlook. It will also show you missed calls, or missed communications would be better actually. And it will show you your call history as well. So again, this is for a user personal sort of call history, for them to keep track of stuff, or to search on, or maybe to sort of check who they called at some point. In the background, Lync is also configured to, or can be configured to, archive all communication. So it will have a record of all calls made and received. It can have a record of all IM conversations. So if you needed that for a compliance point of view, then that can be sort of searched and looked at server side as well. So moving on again in the client, going on to the phones tab here. This is showing me my voicemail. So I've got a visual view of my voicemail. If it came from a colleague or another Lync user, then I can see their name and see their availability from there. Then I can play back the voicemail within my Lync client. I'll also see these voicemails in Outlook as well. So in the background, Lync uses Exchange Unified Messaging as its voicemail store, which is a role just installed within your Exchange environment. But the integration is really nice within Lync there. So you've got that view of voicemails. When I do receive a new voicemail, I get a little flashing icon in the bottom right corner to also give me a notification of that. If you had a Lync handset, so there's quite a few different types of handsets available for Lync, but if you had a physical handset for Lync, then that would also have a message waiting light on it if I had a voicemail. Lastly, I can call into voicemail if I want to do things like change my greetings, set up my voicemail, and that kind of thing. The keypad here really is used if you need to dial into a service and you've got to press 1 for sales, press 2 for something else. This gives you that traditional keypad that you would expect to have on a handset if you needed to press a DTMF digit. While it's there, that's generally what you use it for. It's typically a lot quicker to call someone by typing their digits in the search bar instead of clicking on them in this box. So this really is just for DTMF. The last one here is just my meetings tab. So this shows me meetings in my calendar that are relevant to the current time. So I had some meetings earlier today, but they're now not shown because we're past those. But it shows the current relevant meetings. And ones that are highlighted in blue are ones that can be joined through Lync. So if I clicked on that now, that would join me into this meeting that we're in. So yeah, the bits we've looked at in the client so far, we had our contact list where we could search, we could pin people to our contact list. Actually, one thing I missed off on here was we've also got the ability to do something called tagging. So it's going to search for a test user that I've got set up. So this user down here, Lync test Koris, bit of a mouthful of a name there, but I'm going to tag them for a status change alert. So I right clicked on them and I've gone down to tag for status change alerts. So it's just warning me that I need to add this person to my contact list to do that, which is fine. So I've now tagged that person for a status change alert. So I'll flick back to my demo PC, and I don't know if you noticed, when I flick back to that briefly, this pop-up came up in the bottom right. So when I flipped back to that demo PC, all it was doing was just bringing the PC back from away as if somebody had come back to their desk. But that pop-up you saw in the bottom right, and I'll just change my status to bring it up again. That pop-up is notifying me that this user is now available. So where this becomes really useful is, say our test user was away. So maybe they're away from their desk. So I'm going to search for Lync test. So okay, I want to speak to Lync test Koris user 1. They're away. So actually, I do want to speak to them. I'm not going to email them. I just want to have a voice call with them, but I'm happy to wait till they're back from lunch or whatever. So using that tagging option, right click and tag for status change alerts, I can go and get on with my work. My Lync client can be minimized. I could be doing other stuff on my screen. And then if that user then comes back to their desk, so I'm just changing his status back to available, I get the little pop-up in the bottom right telling me they're available. So just click on them and I can start a conversation with them. So this is another little feature that's kind of helping with people being a bit more productive. You can see somebody's when somebody comes back from lunch or back from their desk or out of a meeting, you get that little pop-up and then you can start communicating with them. So yeah, just back to my client now. So yeah, we talked about our contact list, tagging people, searching for people. We looked at persistent chat there. We looked at our conversation history that stores all the different types of conversation history in there. We had our phone tab so we could access our voicemail, and we had the meetings option where we could see what link meetings we have scheduled. The last sort of bit on the client I'm going to show you down at the bottom here is your options around devices and call forwarding. So if I decided to plug in a different audio device, I can easily switch to that from the bottom left. Currently it's showing I'm using a Plantronics headset. If I plugged in another device, then that will allow me to switch to that down here. If I go to call forwarding, then I've got my options on call forwarding. So I can have no call forwarding. I could forward all my calls to another destination. So maybe my mobile, say I normally receive calls on my PC, but actually I'm going to go away from my desk, but I'm expecting an important call, so I could choose to forward all calls to my mobile there. Or actually say I really don't want to be disturbed, I'm going to forward all calls to voicemail. Or I could enter a new number, so it could be any other telephone number. I could type it in here and then it would forward all my calls to that number. We've also got simultaneously ring, so that's a really useful feature for people that are often away from their desk or may not always have Lync signed in. We can have Lync simultaneously ring another number, which will typically be your mobile. So if somebody is again away from their desk, it will make sure they always receive their call, whether they're as long as they've got that mobile sort of handy. I'm just going to drill down into call forwarding settings as well. So we've got the same view here. We had options around forward all calls or simultaneously ring. The other bit I wanted to show you was what we can do on voicemail. So currently, from my setup, unanswered calls will go to voicemail in 60 seconds. If I click on that, then I can easily just change that timer to be 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds, etc. But also, I don't have to have it go to Lync voicemail. I could actually send it to my mobile. And for some users, this works well because maybe they actually just want to get all their voicemails on their mobile. So in this scenario, we can change to, say, call forward to my mobile after 30 seconds. And now if anyone calls me, after 30 seconds, that will go through to my mobile, and then the voicemail on that will eventually answer the call. So I'm just going to flick it back to voicemail. On here, we've got Team Call. So Team Call is a neat pickup functionality available for Lync. So users create a Team Call group from their colleagues that they may work with regularly. So I'm just going to choose Aaron here and add into my Team Call group. So what will happen is when somebody calls me, then it will ring my Team Call group after this number of seconds. So here it just says 5 seconds. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add in, actually no, we'll leave Aaron there. So after 5 seconds, Aaron will also receive a call on his PC, and it will say this is a team call for Nick Osborne, and it will show up on Aaron's PC. So if you've got a group of people that you work with regularly that can maybe field your calls for you, then this is a great option to allow you to set that up in a sort of a quite quick, flexible manner. Yeah, so let's just take Aaron off there as well. So yeah, I think that's probably enough on the Lync client for the minute. The next bit I wanted to sort of flick over to was scheduling meetings from within Outlook. So what we've been doing here originally, we had some conversations going on. So I contacted a colleague here. I started up an IM conversation. I shared an application with him. I started an audio call. And that was sort of an ad hoc conversation. I could have also turned it into a conference call by choosing to invite more people in. So with the invite more people option down here, I bring up my search box again, and I could type in a number of, I could type in an extension, I could type in a mobile number, etc., etc. But that just allows me to easily bring other people into the call. But it's an ad hoc way of doing it, and it's really good if you say, okay, we're talking about this thing, but we need to bring in another person, so we can do that, invite more people. But say we want to do this in a more formal manner, like we've done today with this webinar, we might want to go over to Outlook, and within Outlook we might want to create a new meeting and then invite people into that meeting. So I'll double click in my calendar to create a new meeting. Brings up the familiar new meeting interface, but I'm going to click the Lync meeting button at the top here, which will turn it into a new online meeting. So you'll notice when I click that button, it populated the meeting invite with some more information. So this is all the information needed for somebody to join into a Lync meeting. You'd have seen when you joined our webinar today some information very similar to this. And so to set that meeting up, all I had to do was click one button, which is join link meeting, new link meeting, and it populated the invite with all this info. So you don't need to remember another user account, loads of different login details or conference IDs or pins and stuff like that. It's all populated within the new meeting invite here. So I may then choose my people to send this meeting off to. So let's just put in a few names here, just for example. And that's it. There we go. That's our webinar set up, and we're good to go. So really easy to set up new online meetings. We can change our settings on these meetings as well. So there's a few sort of default things around who gets into the meeting automatically, who's a presenter, and that kind of stuff. So you've got a lot more flexibility than is shown on the initial screen around how that meeting can be set up. An example on our webinar again today. We've got it set up so only people from our company get past the lobby, and that's just so we can make sure everything's set up on the meeting before we allow the attendees in. And so if you think about that sort of scenario, if you have any kind of scenarios where maybe you want to do a webinar, or you have staff members that want to do webinars for people, maybe for training or presentations or the same sort of thing we're doing today, maybe they want to keep people in the lobby until they've got all the content uploaded and ready to go. So we've got lots of options in here how we can customize the meeting. So yeah, we add people in, we click send, and that's it. That's our new meeting set up, and we're good to go. When we join into the meeting, we simply click the join link meeting URL. So you would have, I'm not going to show you that experience now because you would have gone through that when you joined our webinar today. But simply anybody clicks that join link meeting. If they happen to have Lync, then it would join in through Lync. If they don't have Lync, then as we've seen, some people today would have joined in as guests through a web browser and installed a plugin. So yeah, we've looked at Lync Client and we briefly looked at Outlook. One thing actually I didn't show you, just backtracking very slightly, I'm going to go back to Aaron again, is if I had a conversation up with Aaron, earlier with the calls we started these different ways of communicating, so the voice call, etc. But equally we can just click to start video. And I did show you my little mugshot earlier when we started that up. But if I wanted to bring video into this call, I just simply click start my video, and that will turn this into a video call. If Aaron wants to start his video, then he does the same. So there's a bit of privacy there that the other person can choose when to start their video. They don't have to accept the video call. But once we're in a video call, we can have up to 5 people on the screen at once, so we can have a multi-party view on a video conversation just through the Lync client. So moving on, the next section I wanted to run through was a quick view of the Lync control panel. So on the Lync server, provisioning users, and just quickly showing you how easy it is to set up a new Lync user. So just bear with me while I RDP to a box. Just need to make sure it's the right size so you can see it all. So I'm just hopping onto a Lync server here. So if I bring up the Lync control panel, oh, I tell you what, I've gone onto the wrong server. Sorry about that. Hold on. There we go. Right, that's better. Cool. So again, a messy desktop. This is because it's one of my test servers, so please ignore that stuff. But I'm just firing up Lync control panel. All I did there was click on start and then Lync server control panel. It runs, it's web-based actually, so I could be accessing this through a web browser on my PC, but I just wanted to hop on the server to do it. So it's just going to prompt me for some authentication. And it runs with Silverlight in the background for the control panel, but let's give it a couple of seconds. So looking at the control panel here, the bit I'm just going to drill down into is the users section. So click on users, and here would list users that I've currently got set up. So if I click find, it will return a list of users. I'm actually going to go to the option to enable a user. So I want to enable a new user for Lync. So bring up the new enable user. I'm going to find somebody from Active Directory. So this is just searching all of your AD. So it'll only return users that are not enabled for Lync. So you'll typically find there's not many people that come back when you do search. So let's just find a user that doesn't look too weird. In fact, no, I'm just going to go for a meeting. Cool. So I've selected the user I want to enable. Bad example, meeting room 1, it's not really a person, but the person's name would appear in there. I want to assign them to a pool. So that's the Lync server pool I want to assign them to. Choose how I want to generate their SIP address. Typically we say ideally you want to use their email address, so that's that bit done. And then if I do want to enable them for telephony, I scroll down to the telephony section, choose enterprise voice, and I need to enter a telephone number for them. So and that's it. So all I've done to set somebody up for voice is I selected them from a list of users, I assigned them to a pool, and then I set telephony to enterprise voice, and I entered a telephone number. And that's it. That's all you need to do to enable somebody for voice. There's a few more things you can do, maybe around if you want to assign a voice policy. So that would be a sort of a restriction on what numbers they can call. So got a few policies in here, one that allows people to call international numbers, one that allows internal calls only, and one that allows people to call national, so UK national numbers, including mobiles. So if we do want a bit more restriction, we can, or we can just have it an automatic and it'll base itself on the pool that it's assigned to. So yeah, that's it. To enable a user, select them, choose a pool, and enter a telephone number, and you're good to go. If we say wanted to assign some policies to the user, then that can all be done again from the initial user setup screen here, where we can drop down some boxes and choose different access policies. Or we can design the environment to have the automatic policy to be your standard policy. So by default, if you just go in and choose a user, choose a pool, and enter a telephone number, everything else is going to be inherited, and that'll be your sort of standard build. And then if you want to change it for specific users, you go back in and change it for those specific people. But the idea is it's all easily done from this GUI. So yeah, enabling users is really pretty easy. That was through Lync Control Panel. If I wanted to do it through PowerShell, it can be done through PowerShell really easily as well. So if you say got a new user setup process that's maybe in the background runs through a number of different PowerShell scripts, then it's quite easy to have add to that PowerShell script to have the enable commands to set a user up for Lync as well. So provisioning is pretty sort of straightforward. For the while we're looking at the control panel, I'm just going to show you a couple of bits on the telephony side. So because Lync is a full UC platform, so it's doing IM, it's doing presence, it's doing web conferencing, so audio video conferencing, dial-in, video, multi-party video sharing, etc. One of the things that we shouldn't forget is that it is a full PBX underneath as well. So if I just drill down to the voice routing section, within the voice routing setup, we have things that you would expect from a PBX. So we have our dial plan. Our dial plan defines what numbers are valid to be dialed within the Lync environment. We have our voice policies. So our voice policy is equivalent to a class of restriction in a traditional PBX environment. So I've got different policies to allow different types of numbers to be dialed. We have routing, so where we're going to send a number when it's dialed. So in here, I was doing some testing the other day. If I dial this exact number, then if I drill into the route, this specific one here, just as a test example, but it's just sending it out of a different PSTN gateway, so a different session border controller in our environment. But so routing, as you'd expect, you tell the environment where to send numbers depending on what's dialed. And then on trunk configuration, we have the ability to modify modify calls when they leave our environment. So we can do things like strip digits off again when they leave to go to a PBX, or add digits, add a 9, etc., and that kind of stuff. So you've got a lot of flexibility in the voice configuration of Lync. So it's important to not forget that it is a full PBX under the hood as well. The other bit to quickly show on here is response groups. So response groups is Lync's ACD function, so automatic call distribution, and it's a normal feature you would expect to have in a PBX environment. The ability to set up queues, set up agent groups that are assigned to those queues, have announcements, maybe have IVRs, so interactive voice response. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that. Can all be done from within Lync as a standard feature that doesn't require any additional licensing. So, because this is a demo environment, I've recently cleared out all our workflows. But if I just show you how I'd create a quick workflow. So I just prompted me for auth again. So within our response group config tool here, I'm going to create a new interactive one. So just hit create. And so on here, I need to enter a few bits of information. I need to give the queue a SIP address. SIP address. Okay, oops, got that right. And I need to give it a telephone number. Type it in. So give it a SIP address, telephone number. I can give it a description, display name, that kind of stuff. I select a language for the queue, and then I build my response group here. So I can have a welcome message, which could be a recording that I upload. I choose opening hours for the queue. So I can also upload holiday schedules as well, so we can preset that at the beginning of the year. I can have a message when it's outside of hours. If, for example, please hold, our offices are now closed, please call back at whatever, or our offices are now closed, please leave a voicemail. So I could then configure outside of hours to forward to voicemail. I can have some music on hold, and then on this example here, I can create the IVR, the interactive voice response. So I can say, okay, if somebody presses 1, then I ask another question, or maybe I want to send it to a queue. So the idea is that you've got quite a powerful hunt group and IVR setup here that's free within Lync. I'm just sort of a quick show there to show how easy it's set up. But once we chose the settings, scroll down to the end, click deploy, and that's that response group set up, and it's ready to go. With the response group, we have queues as well. So just show you about the queuing. So with a queue, I have some features on the queue. So queue timeout, overflow, and what to do when those situations happen. So on a queue timeout, I could send it to another queue, voicemail, another user. The same on queue overflow. And a queue has a group of people that queue goes to. So I flick over to group. That's just warning me I've not saved my changes. And so within groups, I can then choose the actual agents that I want to be part of this queue, and then I choose a routing method for them. So maybe longest idle, parallel, round robin, serial, or something called attendant mode. So that was just a really quick view of response groups there, but just sort of showing you that we've got all this other telephony functionality in there, and a lot of this is quite neat free features that you may pay for with other sort of PBX solutions. So that's it on the Lync control panel side. I'm just going to flip back to our slide deck now. So you can see my screen again, and I'm just going to show you, if I want to flip back to our PowerPoint session, I can see the sharing stuff. So the view here is very similar to what we had on those test calls with Aaron. So the users have got that familiar interface, whether they're on Lync through an ad hoc conversation, or whether they've joined Lync and they've joined a webinar or created a webinar. So I'm just going to flip back to my presentable content here. So your screens will all change shortly to show the PowerPoint that we were presenting. So while I'm just waiting for that to load up, the next section I wanted to talk about was link interoperability. Oh, actually no, sorry, jumping ahead of myself. Just quickly, this slide here, because it's not very easy to show you what the mobile client looks like. I took some screenshots of my mobile client recently, and just quickly here, it's showing you what the client looks like, kind of compared to what we saw when I was showing you my desktop client. So the experience is really similar between mobile and desktop for users. So they kind of have this familiar experience regardless of the kind of platform they're using. The mobile client can do audio and video over Wi-Fi or 3G. We tend to sort of recommend to people try and or create a policy to enforce users to use Wi-Fi only, purely because of no limitation of link, but just purely because of the unpredictable nature of 3G. Users may not get a great video experience on 3G, but you can allow your users to do audio and video over 3G from the mobile client as well. So yeah, link interoperability. We touched on some of the voice functions within Lync and the PBX sort of functionality, but how do you actually connect Lync to a PBX? So, or how do you connect Lync to the PSTN as well, I suppose? So, typically we deploy something called a media gateway, which is a physical box that will sit in line between Lync and your current ISDN line. So it will convert the physical ISDN circuit from BT or whoever over to SIP, and then SIP goes into the Lync environment. Those media gateways can also be used to provide you with analog ports. So what Lync being a software-based solution, you may still have a need for analog ports for things like fax machines and stuff like that, or maybe intercoms or franking machines. So within the physical media gateway, we can install analog ports that allow you to terminate those sort of things as well. Media gateways can scale from one ISDN to BRI up to multiple ISDN 30s, depending on your capacity requirements. So we can scale from the very small to the very large on the media gateway connectivity there. So that's one way we can connect Lync into the PSTN. The other way is through SIP trunks. So we can use SIP trunk providers to connect into Lync. When we do, we typically recommend that a session border controller is deployed within the environment, and the session border controller acts as a SIP firewall, basically protecting you from the SIP trunk provider's network, and giving you some important functions around digit manipulation and normalization between the SIP trunk provider's network and yours. So those two methods kind of connect Lync into the PSTN. The other way is Lync could hang off the back of your current PBX. So say you've got an IP-based PBX that will support SIP trunking, or called direct SIP into Lync. So Cisco, Avaya, Alcatel, a number of manufacturers are all interoperability tested with Lync. So if you were looking to trial Lync initially and maybe wanted to test out some of the telephony functionality but didn't want to invest in a media gateway, then Lync can hang off the back of your current PBX and use that direct SIP integration method, and that can be sometimes a low cost way of sort of piloting Lync functionality. Yeah. So other things to mention here briefly: call recording. So major call recording manufacturers support integration with Lync. Redbox, Verba, Audio Codes, big names that you'd expect can support that with Lync. So it's a key feature that often is required sort of within the financial services industry and that kind of stuff. So we can absolutely tick that box within Lync. Contact center functionality. So briefly, I showed you response groups, which is the kind of the basic free of charge contact center function in Lync, but we can deploy full-on contact center applications on top of Lync. So our chosen solution is Prairifier, which is a mature contact center solution. Provides you with the things you'd expect around intelligent queuing, reporting, workforce scheduling, multimedia queues, wallboards, supervisors, all the kind of things that you expect out of a contact center. We can also layer on top of Lync. Last couple of things there, just video conferencing. So Lync does interoperate with a number of major manufacturers, so Polycom, Lifesize, those kind of guys, Lync can talk to directly, or both Polycom, Lifesize, and a few other manufacturers also offer some really nice bridging solutions that allow you to have a really rich session between Lync and Polycom or and Lifesize. So there's lots of options there around the video conferencing integration. Lastly, sort of end user devices, and there's a URL there on the Lync catalog. There's a huge number of end user devices available for Lync, to give you a lot of choice over what your end users can use. So USB headsets, wired, wireless, DECT based, physical handsets, whether you want a sort of rich exec handsets that have color screens and fingerprint scanners, down to just a standard phone that you can pick up and press some buttons to make a call. They're all available for Lync as well, and it's a really good ecosystem there across the different manufacturers. One advantage I think Lync does, or Microsoft do have, is that they've opened that up to the market to create their own devices. Typically, most other PBX manufacturers have their own phones, and that's it. That's your choice. It's got to be a phone from the manufacturer. Otherwise, you get a very sort of bare experience on the handset. Whereas Microsoft have taken the route of opening it up to the market and say, hey, come and make us phones. So we get a lot more competition. The price is a lot more competitive, and it works out better sort of for the end users, because we have a lot more choice there on the end user devices as well. So moving on from interoperability, a few the last kind of things I wanted to touch on were some deployment gotchas that we've come across through our work. And so probably one of the first things we find, and being totally honest, most painful, is firewall configuration. So when we deploy Lync, we issue our customers with a technical design document that will list all the specific things we need doing, in particular firewall ports that need opening, to say from the specific IP address to specific IPs, ports, and that kind of stuff. So ideally that information is then implemented, but we find with firewalls becoming a lot more intelligent, might not be the right word, but I'm going to use that now, with things like application layer inspection. We find that firewalls are starting to do more than just say, I'm going to allow 443 port 443 TCP. They're now saying, I'm going to allow SSL across this connection, not HTTPS, or not just TCP 443. And when that becomes interesting is the firewall is then looking at what it thinks should be SSL, but actually isn't necessarily SSL, because in the background we'll be using Lync, and Lync will be pushing lots of different traffic over lots of different protocols. And so the firewall, trying to be intelligent, will say, okay, that's something over 443, but it doesn't look like HTTPS, or it doesn't look like SSL, so I'm going to block it. So firewall configuration and planning is a really important area that we need to make sure we spend a good amount of time on, to understand what you're doing around your firewall side. And in particular, I think one of the things with these firewalls becoming more intelligent in the application layer stuff is that may not be an obvious new feature that your firewall has. It might come in through a software upgrade, but yeah, there's those sort of things we need to be aware of. PBX integration. So on there is a whole ton of different PBXs we can integrate with. From our side, what we find helps is we've got a lot of experience around SIP and SIP integration between different solutions. So when we are helping to integrate with your PBX over SIP, we can do a lot of debugging on our side to say, these are where we think the problems are. Instead of us just going, it's not working, it's your fault, we can, we're quite au fait with it, so we can do a lot more debugging and really sort of work together with you on the PBX integration. So they're just a couple of bits I wanted to hit on there on the deployment gotchas. I'm conscious of time here, and I don't want to overrun. So I think I'm going to pass on to Christian shortly to help wrap things up on the webinar.
Great stuff. Many thanks for that, Nick. I think the attendees definitely got a deeper insight into the capabilities of Lync. So thanks again for that, Nick. So at this point in time, we're actually going to look at some of the Koris recent success stories. Um, Essentially, one of the primary successes, which only just completed in October, was Pernod Ricard. They are the second largest drinks manufacturer in the world, and the scenario there was essentially a deployment of Microsoft Lync Enterprise Voice integrating with their global business units. We actually mitigated a lot of the risk within that deployment by essentially testing the whole Enterprise Voice deployment prior to actually activation, and that was actually prior to an office move. It's important to understand Koris is a multidisciplined IT systems integrator, so we did do other projects within that Pono project. Essentially, we also offered Microsoft Lync Enterprise Voice support, so from a managed service perspective, very attractive to Pono, whereas they obviously have had a system that's highly bespoke to their requirements, but also with the added safety net of Koris actually providing that voice, Microsoft Lync Enterprise Voice support, as well as actual Microsoft Lync Voice training to all 300 users, which has been an absolute success story. So a case study will soon to be published on that. It's important to understand that Lync is a cross-functional solution that works in any industry sector. So just in terms of some of the attendees on the call at the moment, we've Koris have experience with working in the education sector, worked for a prominent red brick university, whereas the numbers there was quite large, a 3,000 seat deployment, quite useful in terms of education, being able to actually interview international students, obviously. Not forgetting that Lync can actually integrate with Skype, so if business partners and entities that are exterior to where Lync is in operation, you can actually video conference and IM with other users who are actually logging on via Skype or even through a web browser, which some of you may be doing as we speak. Essentially, Koris's experience in the field of contact centers is quite varied. Nick mentioned Prairie Fire. Prairie Fire has been acquired by Mitel, which has been rebranded the My Contact Center for Lync solution. So one of the key success stories we have there is with the Wise Group. Essentially, the results that we delivered and realized for the Wise Group in terms of contact center management was improved reporting, increased productivity of contact center agents, as well as improved customer service. And also another My Contact Center for Lync success was with Freebridge Community Housing, whereas essentially they've seen a reduction in the average length of calls and increased staff morale. And it's quite hard because a number of different engagements we have with organizations is, how can you put a number against how Lync will actually boost morale, boost productivity, and you really can't. And it's kind of realizes post deployment. And just talking about deployment flavors, so to speak, Koris offer dedicated hosted links, so you can actually procure Microsoft Lync on a per user per month basis from Koris, or actually as an on-premise deployment. And one of the key business models that Koris have opted for is single tenanted, so you get the ability to have a highly bespoke Lync deployment with things like UC Analytics and also collaborative recording, as well as integration to actual endpoints. So pretty much I think that wraps it up for today. We've given quite a in-depth overview, and I hope this has really opened the question of how Lync can actually benefit your organization. So thank you all for your attendance this afternoon, and hopefully myself and my colleagues will be speaking to you at some point in the near future. Many thanks.